franchise expansion and constitutional reform. So what happens that the industrial and the middle classes, they ask for this parliamentary reform and the electoral franchise of voting. So what happens? The first Reform Act happens in 1832. It widened the representation to many industrial towns and the middle classes. Second Reform Act 1867, it extended the vote to a significant urban working men. Okay, understand, still the women were not given voting rights. So what happened? That political systems, they slowly became more representative. It created a new political order, okay, that was shaped by industrial interest and the urban voters. Is it clear? Okay, so all the three major causes we have discussed here. We saw political cause, we saw economical cause, then we saw the third one over here is your social cause. Now what happens, this conception of industrial revolution also spreads to other places. For example, we see that it spreads to France. Okay, it is said that it began in late 18th century, but the progress was more slow than France. We see coming up in textile, metallurgy, railway, same thing. It spread to even Germany slowly, right? Why? Because iron and coal industries were present in Germany. We see over in Germany coming up of a customs union also known as Zoverein. I will discuss this in detail in your unification of Germany. Prussian reforms will be there, okay? And unification. We see that it spreads to Italy, and all this leads to even unification of Italy. It spreads to Russia, and over here we see that there is state-led social industrialism. It is not based on capitalism, but it is based on the concept of socialism. Okay, again spreading to USA, we see the American Civil War, right? When people are getting voting right over there, they're asking, we discussed that. The people were asking for the voting rights. Rosa Parks, Abraham Lincoln, Martin Luther King Jr. It did spread to Japan, and UPSC in its mains has already asked a question over here, okay, that Japan was the first country where industrial revolution did spread, but how this industrial revolution was different from the industrial revolution of Britain. Okay, we'll see it later. Now let's very quickly, one thing I would like to say, in fact add here, although industrial revolution did spread to Japan, but what did we saw in Japan, that the emphasis was more on, first of all, moral education, along with this restoration of national values and spiritual education in Japan. Is it clear? Now let's very quickly see the question which UPSC has already asked. We'll do it very fast over here. Okay. First, how far industrial revolution in England is responsible for the decline of handicrafts and cottage industries in India? Now I have discussed with you over here the conception of drain of wealth. What did I tell you? That whatever raw material was being was grown in India was taken to Europe, right? So from here raw material goes to Europe, and ultimately from Europe it again as a finished good travels back to India, right? So this depicts the conception of drain of wealth. Okay, so first of all, what happened? The industrial mechanization and the market displacement was there. That in Britain, there were machines such as spinning wheel, water frame, we have done, power loom, and the textiles which were produced here were in mass production, right? Which our Indian handloom weavers could never compete. So their efficiency was very higher. So if the efficiency is higher, mass production is there, automatically the price of the product is going to decrease. The Lancier cloth, it flooded the Indian and the international market, reducing the demand for the Indian muslin and the textile. Calicos is Indian textile. It improved the transport, British mechanization, steamships and railway, all this reduced cost, and it enables that the British goods could move into the interior parts of the market, right? There were trade routes, there were rules, tariffs and procurements under the East India Company and the colonialist state which favored the British manufacturers, and India was turned into supplier of raw material. Okay, and there were revenue settlement and land settlement policies in India. You have seen permanent settlement when we'll discuss Mahalwari and Rohitwari in modern Indian class. So what happens ultimately? Indian craftsmen, they lacked the access to the industrial capital. Definitely, there was no mechanization, no machine uses. There was no organized market or credit sale like Bank of England or joint stock company from where they could get the credit loans, right? So what happens that the production was totally fragmented and craft specific. Economic scale was very less. There was no technological adaptation. Apart from this, we have seen that there were famines in India, right? Apart from this, all this, okay, all this had led to basically deindustrialization of handloom and the power loom industry, or you can say the cottage industry in India. Let's very quickly take our last question over here, that why did industrial revolution first occur in England? I've just discussed this in social causes, the quality of life, right, of the people there during the industrialization. How does it compare with that in India at present? It's not asking, it's asking in 2015 today. First of all, why England? Let's see here. Because of the natural resources like easy availability of coal and iron deposits, right? Transportation costs were very less. Because of its geography, national harbor, right? We have discussed this. Political stability, there was a constitutional monarchy and institutions like Bank of England, colonial empire in the markets. They had these colonies from where they took in a lot of raw materials, right? Apart from this, we saw another cause, agricultural revolution. We saw the Enclosure Acts. Then capital and finance had developed. Why England? Easy labor supply and demographic shift towards the urban lands. We saw scientific and cultural climate, which promoted the technological advancements in England. Apart from this, spirit of entrepreneurship and legal commercial networks. The production was organized at a very large scale. Quality of life, material gains, definitely there was rising productivity and production. There were more goods, but everything was at a lower price. Okay. National income was rising over decades, but also we see emergence of the middle classes. They were having the cash money, but over long term, what happened? That there was depreciation. We'll see over long term, we see depreciation in the quality of life because of the living conditions in small cubicles where they were living. Okay, Social cost and immediate hardship, we see urban squalor. There was unplanned urbanization, there were epidemic diseases, exploitative labor conditions were there, right? Lot of reforms we see. You're working for long hours, they were paid low, they were lots of dangerous machineries which children and females were working. There was a displacement of the traditional livelihood of these people, right? There were class tensions in the social setup, and you have to mention in the way forward the factories and the mine step. Now you have to compare it with the present similarities in India. Rapid urbanization and migration. Like early Britain, India sees mass rural urban migration, growth of megacity. I think why they asked you this question was that because in 2015, Government of India passed this scheme of Make in India, right? It was trying to industrialize the nation more. And also there were other schemes such as Swachh Bharat Mission Abhiyan. Apart from this, there were other schemes also. Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, right? And also for urbanization, there was Shama Prasad Mukherjee Ruurban Yojana, right? Maybe you had to compare it with these government schemes. There were large informal sectors, displacement of the traditional livelihoods. What are the differences in the conditions? That Britain's growth was based on manufacturing, but India's growth is based on its service and information ICT sector. Okay, so our structural paths are totally different. There is a lot of social problems in absolute terms in India, right? Challenges over there are more over here related in context of housing, sanitation, health, and schooling. Modern India, it has more developed public health knowledge, labor laws, education system, international norms, right? Apart from this, technology and leapfrogging, we see over here that mobile cell phones, digital payments, renewable energies, better living conditions from that time, and global context. And now India, it basically today is a globalized economy. You can mention it over here, which was absolutely absent during that time in Britain. So I hope this whole concept of industrial revolution is clear. In tomorrow's class, we are going to discuss about the imperialism and colonialism, how it is different, and the question how Japan's industrialization is different from the Britain's industrialization. We'll see that in tomorrow's class. Thank you.